and welcome to another episode of PodcastDX, the show that brings you interviews with people just like you, whose lives were forever changed by a medical diagnosis. I'm Lita.
I'm Ron.
And I'm a pina colada.
You're not a pina colada.
Okay.
She's Jean Marie. Collectively, we're the host of PodcastDX. On today's show, we are speaking with Travis Mills. Travis, if you're not familiar with him by now, is the quadruple amputee from an Afghanistan IED, and we're going to hear more about his story in a little bit. And he also is running a foundation that provides R&R services, more or less, for other veterans that have been injured. Is that right, Travis?
Yep, absolutely. It did for physically injured, and now we're moving towards all injuries.
Great.
We have going on.
Well, welcome to the show. Go ahead, Ron.
Travis, hi, this is Ron. Again, thank you for joining us today on our show. First, I would like to start off by saying thank you for your service to our country.
Well, no, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys for a bit.
Yeah. Travis, I read a bit about your injuries and your recovery. I got to say, I am amazed by your determination and your tenacity. It seems like you've overcome a lot of challenges since April of 2012. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about that day? Didn't it just start off as a regular day for you?
You know, it did. We were on our deployment that we were supposed to be there for 9 months. It was my third deployment, and we had a phone call come in from the village elder that there was some IEDs we had to check out. So we put our gear on like normal, and we went on a patrol to try to help them out. And we went, the same routes that we always would take. Not the same routes, but same general direction. And I had the guy in front of me with the minesweeper, and he swept the ground once and then swept again twice, like we were protocol. And it just didn't alarm that there was anything under the soil. So I happened to take my backpack off and I put it on the ground. And then the bomb, when it went off, it shocked my world, to be honest with you.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what was going through your mind at that time. Probably, shock. What were the next steps after you were evacuated from the site where you were actually injured? For instance, how soon after the attack were you transferred back stateside? And was there an intermediate location or two for immediate surgical repair?
Well, what they did was when I got hit, my arm on my right side was completely gone. My right leg was completely gone. They disintegrated and never found those pieces of me. My left leg was snapped to the bone, actually. So if you imagine left ankle bone touching your left eye, and my left wrist was blown out pretty bad. They hit the ground, and I rolled over my back, and I saw the aftermath. And in my head, I kept seeing the movie Saving Private Ryan.
Oh,
and I thought, about the medic that gets shot in the stomach, and then he cries out for his mom and ultimately dies. In my head, I said, no way will my men ever remember me of freaking out or complaining or crying or feeling awful and begging not to die, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it's not my choice, and I'm always one that exuded confidence, never showed fear, led from the front, and, you never do that as a leader. So I calmed myself down. My mech worked down one side of me. My platoon started to work down the other side of me. They got 4 tourniquets on. And then I, with my left hand that was still left on my body, I reached up and grabbed my microphone, and I called my lieutenant. I said, hey, 6, this is 4. I got guys injured. I need your medic with mine. Because 2 of my soldiers got hit. So I called them, and they radioed back. They sent Doc Voice over. And Doc Voice came to work on me, and he was working on, my other men, and then me. I had to kind of calm him down. He was stuck on repeat, like his old CD when he gets starts skipping.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing what his training taught him to do. So he kept saying, you're going to be fine, Sergeant Mills. You're going to be okay. You're going to be fine, Sergeant Mills. You're going to be okay. But he kept working. He just kept saying it. I had to look at Doc Voice and say, hey, Doc, just do your job. It's fine. And they got me on the helicopter about 10 minutes after Doc Voice got there. So really about 12 to 15 minutes being injured, I was on a helicopter. And then I was transported to the Kandahar Hospital, where I didn't know this then, and I'm happy that it's, a known fact now, but 99% of patients that make it to Kandahar Hospital leave Kandahar Hospital alive.
That's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah, so they started wheeling me right into surgery. It was 14 hours of surgery they took me into, and just a wonderful team of 9 doctors and 7 nurses working for 14 hours straight to put me back to, not put me back together, I guess. That was later on with prosthetics, but to, seal up my wounds and
save your life.
Get you stabilized.
They saved your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm guessing that those medics at the front line are really the ones that saved your life. I know this wasn't something that we were going to talk about, but do you stay in contact with those guys?
Oh, I do. Yeah, actually, you know, I know it's very fast forward, but my wife and I had another child, fortunately, so we have two now.
Mhm.
And my son's name is Dax. So
Oh,
it's DAX because the Megs were Daniel and Alexander. And I thought
Oh.
those two made it possible, so I might as well like name my kid in their honor. So
That's amazing.
My
That's
wife,
amazing.
That's great.
my wife kind of came up with the idea more than I did. I was going for Travis Field and Mills II, but she said no.
Sure.
I name everything after myself, my business, my foundation, you know. So
Well,
she's
at
like,
least
no,
everybody knows where they're going.
And it worked for George Foreman, so why not?
Right.
Exactly.
According to the Department of Defense, as of January 2018, more than 1,500 service members have lost limbs in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq since all of this started in 2001. And an article back in 2018 in July, it pushed the number up to 1,914, so 1914. Have you met any other amputees since you have been injured yourself?
Had I, you mean previously or since?
No, since then.
Since.
Oh, yeah, that's at the hospital. We had a bunch of, everybody at the hospital was amputee.
Oh, okay. So it is a very common wartime injury currently, correct?
Oh, yeah, but it's common at the hospital. So, like, I had no idea about amputations, things like that. I mean, you figure you lose a leg, your life's over. Like, it's going to be the worst thing ever. And, you know, I got to the hospital, and when I finally, they woke me up on medical sedation, I was kind of, like, questioning, am I a bad person? You know, this guy hates me. What did I do wrong in life? How can I be a husband and a father? And, you know, the biggest thing I was really wondering is, like, why not just die? Like, how is this better? And in truth, I didn't want to talk to my wife, my mom and dad at all, like my parents. I didn't want to deal with the situation. But then I got to, you know, wake up. My brother-in-law was in the room. He's in the military as well, a good friend of mine. So I met his sister, my wife. And he convinced me to my parents and my wife, and I did. And then I didn't really have a conversation with them. I was kind of like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to deal with it. But finally, I got to meet Todd Nicely, who was a quadruple amputee. I'm actually one of five.
Right.
I'm the fourth one out of five of us. And he walked into my room and was like, hey, man, you're going to be fine. You're going to walk again. You're going to drive again. You're going to beat yourself. You know, you do everything you need to do by yourself. And I know it doesn't sound like it, but you're going to be independent. And, sorry, and that was all the you know, the motivation I needed.
So that kind of turned you around, you think?
You know, my wife being on my side when I told her she should leave me,
Right.
turned me like, okay, let's get better. I don't want to be a burden on anybody. I mean, I'm a very demanding husband, unfortunately. You know, I expect a lot of help with things, but I'm very lucky that my wife stayed. My daughter was 6 months old when I got hit, so she was there motivating me every day. And I actually learned how to walk with my daughter, kind of a cool, you know, little thing me and her have.
That's so cool.
And she's 8 years old, and she goes and she tells people, you know, I taught my dad how to walk.
That's
Oh.
cool. That's so cool. I love that. Yeah, it's going to be hard to not tear up right now.
Yeah, especially after watching the movie with the two of you.
Right.
Yeah, she was right there for your physical therapy and everything, and your wife was right there too, and that's amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
After that, they got you back, you know, alive and somewhat functioning. Did they give you the chance to remain in the military in any status, like, you know, just stateside, desk side, or did they just tell you this is it?
You know, they did. Actually, General Odierno and the Sergeant Major of the Army at the time came in, Chandler came in and talked to me at the hospital about, hey, you know, we'd love to have you stay in. You can go around and maybe present on behalf of the military. And I teared up and I said, look, I plan on doing 20 years, gentlemen, but not like this.
Mhm.
And my time's come to an end.
Right.
I can't be infantry anymore. I can't, you know, be airborne anymore. And as sad as it was to come to that realization, it was just, it was time. I think I even made the joke. I said, I really don't want to get restationed anywhere. And General O'Daniel said, I don't think we restation Sergeant Mills. I said, I don't think so either, sir, but I'm going to call it a day. And I appreciate this conversation, you know, because it was emotional. I put him on 20 years at a whole career path lined up, but it just didn't work out for me. And that's okay, because life, you know, it's going to throw you some curveballs, and you got to just keep pushing forward and do the best you can. And I feel like I've taken that curveball and I've kind of knocked it out of the park with my support group and everybody that helped me.
That's super.
Yeah.
Travis, I've seen some of your videos on YouTube, and they're absolutely amazing. And I can tell you're a pretty humorous guy. How did your humor and your personality, I guess, How did it help you with the recovery process? And how long after the amputations were you fitted for the prosthetic that you wear?
Well, the humor that I have came back right to me. Matter of fact, one day I was sitting there in my hospital bed, the hallway from the nurses, and I could see them all doing their like change of shift brief. And I started yelling, "Oh, my legs, my arms and legs, where'd they go? I want to sleep and I have them." And I was just joking to get their attention.
Oh.
And a little 10-year-old walked by, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just kidding. Sorry, sweetheart. I sleep a little before." I was like, "I am so sorry." But I've always had the humor, and I think the best compliment, and sometimes the worst compliment that I get is that I'm the same person that I was before the injury. So depending on who says it, if it's somebody that's a friend of mine that I grew up with says it, that's awesome. But if it's like maybe an old school teacher from high school, I'm like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and as far as my prosthetics, I was able to get fitted after 5 weeks. I got my arm for the first time, so a relatively short period. And then 7 weeks and 4 days, I was able to start walking again. So just shy of 2 months, I took my very first steps at Walter Reed. I mean, it was on short legs, a very different feel from walking, but I was, starting my comeback.
Right. And that's amazingly fast.
Amazing, for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. And then, believe it or not, having no arms and legs like I do, I just made a video this morning. I was at the gym, and I was actually running this morning at the gym. It's the first time in 2 years. I took a hiatus because I had no excuse. But I'm back running now, so it's good.
That's
Good.
awesome. That's absolutely
I
awesome.
tell you, I work in the disability community, and I'm involved in disabled sports. And I tell you, it is a very interesting community with the humor. So I understand exactly where you're coming from, and who can say what.
Well, yeah. I mean, I travel the nation. I'm a motivational speaker, and I start every time off by saying I tell jokes to disarm the situation. Knee slapper if you got it, because I don't have arms, and I also can't slap my knees. But I think it just makes people look past the injury that I sustained and more at the man that I am.
Absolutely.
Which makes me happy, because I want to break down barriers and walls. And some people, I was just at Whole Foods, to be honest with you, and a little boy walked up, and he's like, "What happened to your arm?" And I was like, "Oh, don't ask that." I said, "No, I'd rather have people ask and then stare and kind of shy away from it." So I told him I had a bad day at work, and now I'm like Iron Man. I work with, the superheroes. He's all about it. He called me around for a little bit. So I was like, "Hey, man, I really got to go outside."
Oh, wow. So every day you're just
Inspiring
people wherever you go. That's fantastic. And Travis, my mom and I both know that, the Army is not only a community, it's kind of like a family. Mm-hmm. But apparently that's really the case for you. As you had said, your brother-in-law is also in the military, and that's actually how you met your wife?
Oh, yeah.
And what role has that played in your recovery?
You mean as far as the military brotherhood and my recovery? How's that? Okay, yeah. So, at the hospital, I guess in the military in general, you have a brotherhood, right? Like, I didn't have to go on my third deployment. My third deployment, I was supposed to go to Fort Hood, Texas, and help build a brigade up, take a time out from deploying because I had so much time. Mm-hmm. But I had all these young guys that came from across this nation that believed in me. And I said, "No, it's not fair to them. They believe in me. I'm their leader." My wife understood the calling. They were at her house for barbecues, and she knew I had to go. Like, it's something ingrained in you as a service member. So I went overseas, and then I got injured, right? So you go from the platoon-sized brotherhood, and then you go to the hospital, and without Todd Nicer coming to talk to me shortly after I was injured, I would never know the possibilities that lay ahead. So I wouldn't probably be as motivated. Then you get down to the Military Advanced Training Center where all the injured guys are at. And let me tell you something. It is just amazing because that's a tight-knit group. And you're all working together and living together, going through the same thing with your spouse, going through the same thing, and your children. And having them to lean on, plus the staff at Walter Reed are just top-notch. My physical therapist, my occupational therapist, the driving rehab specialist, the prosthetist, everybody. It's just one well-oiled machine. The doctors, and Walter Reed's brotherhood, and having everybody that was injured, like me, or not like me with Norm's legs, but like maybe missing a leg, missing an arm, spinal cord injury, whatever. It was nice having them there because you feed off them. They still got the mentality of being in the service.
Great. Could you please tell us a little bit about the prosthetics that you're using now? And an add-on question, I guess. Do you start out like a person that has an amputation, do they start out with one type of a prosthetic and move on to different ones as they get acclimated to the use? Are there like prosthetic training wheels of sorts?
Yeah, absolutely there are. So we'll start with the hands. So the first hand that I got was called the myoelectric. I still use the same exact hand that I had then, but I can only wear it for 1 hour a day. And then it got progressively more and more. So now I wear it as long as I want. So like I've had it on 20 hours or whatever, you know, if I've been up that long working or doing whatever. And it just, you know, it's muscle flex based. So I flex a certain muscle slow, it opens up. I flex the same muscle fast, it rotates, and then down slow, down fast. And it's pretty awesome because I mean, I can eat the sandwich, I can open the door, I can drive my truck, do everything I need to with that one hand that I wear. I only wear the left side. The right side, I'm so high up injured, I don't wear prosthetics on it unless I'm doing activities like downhill mountain biking or kayaking and things of that nature.
Okay.
Snowboarding. I do all that stuff, which is pretty awesome.
That's amazing.
And then
It
as far
is.
as the prosthetic legs, there's definitely a training wheels type session where you start on short legs, so they mold your legs. You start on really short prosthetics, and you got to rebuild everything. I went from 250 pounds when I got injured to 140 pounds.
Wow.
I lost all my muscle mass. I couldn't roll right or left or sit up by myself for a while there, so I had to regain all my core muscle and strength. And you start on shorter legs, so when you get stronger on those, it's basically like if you imagine where your kneecap is, there's a foot at the end of it. For me, in my injury,
yeah, that would have been difficult to work with. Sure.
Yep. And then you grow taller and taller to the point where you have straight legs that are like stilts that you're standing up as high as they're going to make you.
Okay.
I was 6'3". I'm about 6 foot right now. I was, you know, so they shrank me 3 inches, but it's all for safety and gravity and whatnot. And then they give you the legs I'm wearing now, which are called X3s, and they're the top of the line. They're waterproof. They're Bluetooth. So they have like a locking remote on my truck. I let my legs from every angle. They have little computers in each leg, so they're microprocessors, what they're considered. So every time I move, over 300 adjustments get made to keep me as upright as possible. And then the last thing is they have hydraulic brakes built in, so when I go down a ramp, I can slow myself down. I fly a lot of airplanes, actually, as a motivational speaker. So when I go down a jetway, I don't go bowling for people.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I saw that in the video, too.
Right.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It was funny. One of the other things in the video, talking about your prosthetic hand and your daughter's future boyfriend. I thought that was pretty humorous.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell us about that firsthand.
Yeah, I got a special hand of keeping a Crown Royal bag in my closet, and it closes 25 pounds of pressure and then 35 pounds of pressure. And the reason I keep it in the closet is because when she's 16, her mom lets her go on a date, I'm going to bring that hand out, and I'll probably, you know, crush his hand, and when he's crying, I'm going to tell him no fingerprints. So don't mess with me, bro. I'm gonna let him go. And I'm sure that should subdue any, you know,
questions that he
might
have had.
Think about trying.
Right.
Yeah. My wife says I'm not gonna be able to do that, but you know, we'll see.
That's right.
And high school buddies, like real good friends of mine, are so excited because when their kids get old enough, they can't wait to fly me in for the same thing. And I'm like, I'm coming. Let's throw a party. Basically, Bad Boys 2 style, like Bad Boys 2 with Martin Lawrence there and Will Smith when she goes on a date.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
That's too funny. You just mentioned your friends. It actually leads me into my next question. Your friends and family, including your wife, how supportive have they been with you through this, this journey?
Oh, I mean, top notch. I definitely gained friends, didn't lose friends through this, and you know, having my wife on my side every day, that was the reason I kept fighting to get better. Because if she's not leaving me, then I got to do my best to not be a burden. And, you know, a lot of places that she goes for other nonprofits, and they bring up, like, you know, the problems they have with their husbands or issues they have with their husbands. You know, some of the other spouses might say, like, well, you can't do this because of that. And I'll ask Kelsey, like, what does Travis do? She's like, well, Travis takes Chloe gymnastics. He runs around, does grocery shopping when he can, and things. So I try to be as everyday, average, normal husband, father as I can be. But then having, you know, my friends there with me, and now with the foundation, I've been able to bring up a lot of really cool families that I want to help out. So we help all physically injured, paralyzation, amputation, spinal cord through service families, and it's all free to them. And it's all about, hey, get out there, be active in your community and in your society. because some people aren't as open as me. And I think having the support group that I had and having abilities that I had at Wall Street to learn things like walking and stuff is why I'm fortunately so successful in my everyday life.
Sure.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Definitely. Travis, what do you wish people knew about amputees? I know that you say that, go ahead and ask. That's for you personally. But what do you wish people would know about amputees, like the emotional changes that a person goes through? So, like, in other words, if somebody wanted to ask a question but they were afraid to ask, pretend like you're answering those questions. What did you have to go through emotionally?
Well, and I would say, like, what do you wish they knew?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, for me and a lot of my buddies that I know, rather just have the conversation than the looks and the stares and like the awkward, oh crap, they're looking at me. Let me look up at the ceiling or whatever and look back when they're not looking. So really, people, they want to be delicate, which I appreciate and I understand, but everybody that I know is an everyday regular person. They just had some mishap at work, but it didn't change them, into being this person that needs to be, babied around or ostracized, I guess. So, for me, what I want people to know is, like, have the conversation. Say, hey, how's it going? People always ask me, and it's the funniest thing, like, hey, Travis, when I see someone like you, what do I say?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I usually say hi or hello.
Exactly.
But it's kind of up to you what you want to use.
Right.
And, also, I'm trying to change the narrative. I say I'm a recalibrated lawyer because everybody throws out, you're one of those wounded guys. It doesn't make me feel very good because I don't have any more injuries. I have scars.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to change the whole, word wounded because I think it's negative to recalibrated, right?
Okay.
I've changed up a little bit, but
sure.
we're good to go.
Looks good.
And then also, I think that the term veteran in general has become kind of like, oh, you're one of the veterans. You got that, PTS or what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing. I served my country, had a great time doing it, loved my job, had a bad day at work. Now I got to move on.
Mm-hmm.
So, my foundation, we're actually expanding our programs to help people get back on their feet that maybe suffer from PTS and things like that, because I really truly feel that, you need to get help to get out of your own way to be successful. I'm fortunate. When I talk about it, I own part owner in two, and I run one with my wife. So 3 businesses plus a nonprofit that's very successful.
Well, that's great.
Wow, you must be very busy.
Yeah, I would say so. Yes, for sure. Getting back to the physical thing that you've been through, how many surgical procedures have you had?
I think 13, they said.
13
I think they
total?
they rounded it out at 13 surgical procedures, maybe more. But I didn't have many surgeries. Kind of what you see is what you get with me, which I was lucky to go internal. Then I had to get my eardrum repaired, which was the worst surgery that I can remember.
Oh, wow.
But and then besides for that, nothing too crazy. I was very fortunate and lucky there. No infections or anything like that.
Do you think that being in the best physical condition that you were in prior to the injuries was what helped your recovery?
I think so. I think it did, for sure. I was a weightlifter. I pick anything up that was heavy and I could put it down. One of those meathead kind of types. But I think it was on the battlefield the reason I didn't lose my blood out and everything, that I remained calm.
Okay.
I didn't get my heart rate up. I didn't freak out. I kept telling myself, whatever happens, happens. It's not my call at the end of the day. So don't freak out. And I think that might have saved my life as well, because instead of yelling, I don't want to die, and freaking out and panicking, I just was like, well, I'm just going to stay calm and ride this one out. So very fortunate that I'm kind of suffering in the best way possible of the term, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the most worst way, if you have some of my family members, maybe.
Well,
Yeah, that is truly amazing, and it says a lot about who you are as a person, who you were before, and who you have always been. And your injuries were in 2012. Do you still have phantom limb pain, and is there anything that they can do to help treat that part of the injury?
It's a great question, and I can't re-edit the documentary, and I wish I could, because I say that the ketamine coma, I don't think I would do it again, which
Mm-hmm.
is, I only did that, the documentary was 5 months after my injury.
Oh my gosh.
And in truth, the phantom limb pain, I would 110% not be the person I am today if I didn't have the ketamine coma. The ketamine coma is the new thing they're doing. That's a case study. And what they did was reset my brain to think that my nerves end where they were blown off at instead of trying to find my hands and feet.
Okay.
And I have been absolutely pain medication free since October of 2012. I just quit it cold turkey, and no pain medication, no medication whatsoever, actually, which is very fortunate. But because of my case study they did, it's more of a common used process. And I have no phantom limb pain, no pain to speak of. And I'm very, very lucky I know that. So it's that's one thing that at the time when I said it in the documentary, I didn't know the results of it. And now looking back, like, it was probably the best thing for me because my life is unobstructed by anything. I don't live on any medication. I just keep pushing forward with a pretty worry-free life now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Travis, we watched a video that showed you and your modified truck. So, you still drive. What about any of your other recreational pursuits? Do you need adaptations, or how do you do them?
Well, luckily with the remote to my truck, and I can put my legs 25-degree angles, I can drive my truck, no problem. And there for a while before I could get in to get adapted, I just kind of drove it every day and made it work with a steering wheel handle. So I can drive most anything, but I have a van that has hand controls in it, which is awesome, and that really helps out a lot too. So it's just a lot of fun that I get to do that and be able to drive again and stuff. So I guess I have a Ranger and a golf cart, but there's no adaptions on those. I just kind of drive those.
If you're going to be running that day, do you switch out your prosthetics to make running?
You know what? Yeah. So I forgot to cover that because I went right from training wheels to walking. So it's my prosthetics. But in truth, I have bicycle legs I've never used, but I'm going to set them up one day. Very excited about this. My running blades, I have those. I have little short workout legs, and then I have different hands and attachments. I mean, I have a bowling arm. I think I'm going to use this weekend at my daughter's birthday party thing she's doing with her friends and their whatever. And I have a pool table arm, which I can't wait to get a pool table. I'm telling you what, it's going to be exciting. But yeah, there's definitely different adaptations.
Okay.
There are adaptations that they have, and it's kind of like, it's weird, like just like going on Amazon. You go inside the book, you're like, oh, that activity looks fun. Let me see if I can get one of those. Mm-hmm. I have like a 10-inch butcher knife, so I can carve a turkey. To be honest, I haven't carved a lot of turkeys, but it's very sharp, and you got to be very careful not to be walking with that thing because it's like running with scissors.
Oh yeah,
right. But yeah, we have all that stuff, and I'm so grateful that there's some geniuses and bright minds out there that put that stuff together to make it possible for them.
For sure.
Well, Travis, if you don't already, if you don't do scuba diving or you haven't done archery and you are interested, let's talk later because I'm involved in both of those activities for people with disabilities.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
From what I've seen, you do a lot, but I wanted to throw that out there as another, something else you could add to the resume.
Right.
Yeah. So I've done archery, and I'm okay with that. It's not something, because again, the knock on the arrow part gets me, kind of. So like, my biggest stubbornness I have is if I can't do it by myself, then it's like, yes, I don't really want to do it. So I'm getting some rifles set up so I can go. I like to skeet shoot, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And target shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But also my next goal. So I've already been skydiving a few times. I used to jump out of airplanes, but since I've been injured, I've been skydiving twice. My next goal, and here's where me and you can collaborate. I'm gonna go, cage diving with great white sharks. I'm so afraid of sharks. I face my fears, and I cannot wait to jump in that cage with sharks all around me. But I want the big ones off the Cape of South Africa.
Certainly. That's one of my bucket list items. I just say I don't want that to be the last item on my bucket list, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, you two have fun.
A little bit.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Well, I'll be up
down
on the boat with the spear gun, and I'll be keeping an eye out for you.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, drinking the rum punch. I love it.
There you go.
I'm into it.
Somebody's got to run shotgun.
Yep.
I know. I get it.
You guys are hilarious. But yeah, you guys will have to work that out with Dive Heart. Travis, what does the future of prosthetics look like, and what do you hope to see with future prosthetic devices?
The prosthetics are quite amazing. They have prosthetics that your hand, that each finger moves instead of just like the two fingers, like like each hand has a little motor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for those to get more durable, which is exciting, but also them hooking to like your nerves and all that so that it can, sense what your muscles would actually be flexing to open your hand and close it. But I think also what I'm excited about, a step further than prosthetics, is they're doing a stuff called osseointegration, where they're hollowing out your femur bone and hooking a rod to it, and the rod comes out of your skin like your teeth do, and then you connect your feet on it, and you can take them off. And then kind of lastly, it's the stem cell stuff, which is so intriguing to me because they're regrowing people's, like, one guy, like, regrew his thumb. So they're saying they'll probably be able to regrow people's arms and legs in the near future. Like, we're talking 5-10 years.
Wow.
Which is just, mind-blowing, right? Like,
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm not gonna be the first one to do it, but I'm saying it's just amazing that the progression, right? When the first guy made a prosthetic, that was Civil War, hanger got started because he lost his leg to a cannon, or infection or gunshot, something to do with the Civil War. But now, bionic stuff is just impressive. So, sky's the limit. If I was a Vietnam era veteran, one, the battlefield medicine or technology that we have today, very rarely would a guy like me ever make it. Very low percentage. And now, because of the wars and because of technology and the time that we live in, I live a pretty normal life. Like, I went down and did a barrel meeting today at a building. That was my big day today. And I went to the gym and ran today. Guy with arms and legs is running at the gym. Come on, that's pretty cool, right?
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and very inspiring.
And I think the big thing is, to stay humble, because I don't want to ask for too much. I'm just so fortunate and lucky to have what's out there on the market right now anyway.
Sure. But I guess, as far as the future of prosthetics, the designers definitely want to hear from the individuals who will be using them to see what is it that you guys need.
Oh, absolutely. Dare to dream, for sure.
Yeah.
Travis, older veterans, they may require amputations due to medical complications like diabetes or something like that. Have you interacted with any of these older vets to kind of talk with them and give them an idea of what to expect after amputation?
Well, I get sometimes those conversations, right? Do a lot of like one-on-one counseling like that. But if I go to the VA to do a checkup or something, and I see somebody and they ask me questions, I answer them, or someone at the grocery store, that doesn't, I have the conversation. So a big thing is people email into my website and they'll ask me like, hey, I got this going on. I was thinking maybe I should just cut my leg off. What do you think? I'm like, I'm not the guy that's going to tell you cut your leg off. Like, that's just not my expertise. But I'll tell you that, there's different prosthetics out there to make your life better if that ends up being the diagnosis or what happens. So I'll try to give as much information, but I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it's great. Just go hack that thing off. Let's call it a day.
Right.
But as far as people that are suffering, I know people use my videos, use my website, travismills.org, for a lot of inspiration. And they go on my Facebook, which is all like tagged SSG Travis Mills, because when they go on my Facebook page or my Instagram, they'll see fun videos of me and my wife and children, or me and my buddies, or things like that. And then they can, they can find out, hey, life goes on, right? That's what this whole podcast is about.
Yes,
if something happens,
absolutely.
Right? Let's keep pushing forward. And that's kind of the message that we always project. I'm always speaking about resiliency, about overcoming life's obstacles, and it's a lot of fun for me. So I'll have the conversation, but it's not something I do one-on-one counseling for.
Okay. Well, speaking of resiliency, you were obviously able to draw on an incredible internal strength just to survive that incident. Could you tell us more about your mantra of never give up, never quit? How did you come up with that? And can that work for everyone?
Absolutely. I think it can work for everybody. And the way that I kind of started in the whole never give up, never quit was I was working out, and I looked all skinny and sickly, and the nurse kept saying, do you want to take a break? And I said, I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to quit. And, then, like I said, my wife's by my side, my daughter being there to help me walk again, and my driving force, my parents, my in-laws, my father-in-law, I didn't even know him that well, really, right? Like, we talked about the weather a lot in sports, but I didn't live near him or was nowhere near him when I grew up. He moved into the hospital with me. We became really close friends. Now, we're bestest of friends. We travel over the nation together. But it's ingrained in my head that you just keep pushing forward. You can't just let your situation that you're living in now be your outcome of your life. And I mean, just like in the military, I always strive for more promotions and higher rank and do better and things like that. And that's the same with my life. So, I don't want to sit stagnant. You got to keep moving. And that's just kind of how I got the slogan. And I live by it because I know that there's now not one but two children that look up to me every day. And I need to make sure they know, like, hey, look, if you fall down, you got to get back up and keep going forward.
Sure. That's, once again, amazing.
Hooah.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the movie A Soldier's Story?
Yeah, so the documentary was created because some people in Texas saw my story on, I think, Fox News or one of the news stations, and they thought, well, that's pretty cool. And then they realized quite early in our conversations that I would go room to room and meet people like Todd Nice did for me. I'd meet people that came into the hospital, and they wanted to film. And we decided, you know what, let's just go ahead and do a short documentary, half-hour long, and then it turned into an hour-long documentary, and it came and filmed. And that was actually, believe it or not, that was done in about 7 days, maybe 9 days of filming. Yeah, there was a lot of iPhone footage that they had to cut and edit from Kelsey's phone, which was great, but they did the reenactments and the interviews and all that just like in 9 days total.
Wow. Yeah, it was a heart-wrenching movie. We watched it just before we started the interview. We wanted to make sure that we were in the right frame of mind, and I don't know if that helped.
Oh.
But
Well, yeah, it was
wow.
us. It was us in a box of tissue.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there were a lot of smiles. Your daughter,
I knew how it ended, so that was the only reason I said it's got a good ending.
Yeah,
It's going to be a good movie.
it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. Yeah.
I know, it's kind of sad there for the first half hour.
Oh yeah, it was a rough beginning.
And then now I actually am fortunate where we have I do, I guess. It's called Tough as They Come. It's a New York Times bestseller. I have a book out, and Mike and Angel, actual motion picture, which is exciting, but can't count your chickens before they hatch. So we'll just keep playing it day by day and see how it goes.
Sure. Can you tell our listeners about your family now? So you got 2 children, and how have you adapted to life together as and does this amputee get in the way? I mean, or are you just a husband and a dad?
Well, I mean, there's 2 answers to that, I guess. The amputations, or my disability, or whatever you want to call it, it does get in the way of some things. Like my daughter's in soccer. I love to be in the backyard, keep the ball around and running. But I did that for the first year when she was like 5. She was in soccer, but now I can't keep up. So I kind of watch them, from the side. But it doesn't really get in my way. I get on the trampoline with my kids. I can still do a backflip. We get into the pool or the lake and swim around. So it doesn't really hold me up. And I still go to daddy-daughter dances and things like that.
Oh, that's sweet.
My wife, she's the unsung hero of everything. She doesn't like the limelight as much, but, she's the one that keeps us all together and the glue that holds it. And she's been phenomenal. She stayed by my side and helped me out. Like today before we left, I still need help putting my legs on. So she had help put my legs on, and she doesn't complain about that. It's just normal now. So, like, when I wake up, my legs go on, then my pants or whatever. But it doesn't hold me back from being a father or a parent. I'm the one that takes her to gymnastics, and my son and I wrestle around, and it's just a lot of fun. So I guess we have the same family dynamic that we were always going to have. I'm, active with the kids, and my wife and I still do things as a family. It's just different because I'm not able to do as much sports stuff as I'd like to, because I used to be very athletic.
Right, right. But at least you've been there. You know the tips. You know what to tell your kids, how to do it. You can train them. You can coach them. You can guide them because you've already done it. And
absolutely, I don't want to give me excuses because I'm not sure that excuses will work with me. So I'm like, really, Chloe? I got a lot of both arms and legs. And
right.
Hey, come on.
Let me just, Trevor. Let me just add here. I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I'm a little bit too old, so I can't keep up with my kids. But I've done it before, so I can talk with them. I can explain to them. But I certainly can't keep up with them. They're young.
Well, I'm telling you, you're doing better than me, Ron. I mean, I fell apart at 25, and I got 2 feet in the grave now at 32 years old. There you go.
I don't know if that's quite true.
Yeah, no, I finally heard it. I finally caught it. Again, I know the humor in the community can be pretty intense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys, yeah, quite the comedian there.
I got to close my mouth now. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Travis.
Well, hopefully we'll talk after we're done taping.
There you go. Travis, do you have any tips, hints, and helpful advice for our listeners or someone who's recently had an amputation or waiting to have one or their family members?
Well, I not just sticking with amputations. I'll tell you what I tell all the audiences I speak to.
Okay.
So I travel, all over the nation. But the two things I leave when I get off stage is the two life lessons I've learned. Because, I went from this athletic 6'3", lift weights every day, big, stocky, strong guy to, having no arms and legs and everything. So the first thing I tell people is don't dwell on the past. I used to sit in my hospital bed and close my eyes and hope, wish, and pray that this never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And think, how do I go back in time? How do I change this? And, it took about 2-3 weeks in where I finally realized that does me no good. Living in the past is never going to change anything. So instead of dwelling on it, I reminisce 25 years I have arms and legs. They're phenomenal. And I've had 7 amazing years without arms and legs. And then I also take a step further and tell people that you can't always control your situation, but you can always control your attitude. So for me, my situation is I wake up every morning with no arms, no legs. Right? I mean, that's how I am. But my attitude, I'm fortunate my daughter, Chloe, will run down and wake me up. If I'm not already awake, I jump in my wheelchair, I throw my arm on, right? We go downstairs and we have our breakfast. And then I'm able to go ahead and go about my day. So instead of letting my situation dictate how I feel, I just realized that, hey, I'm so lucky to be here and so fortunate because I have a lot of buddies that make it back home to their families that I might as well have a great attitude about every day I get to be here because, they're no longer with us and their sacrifice is so much bigger than mine. And I think if you live by those two life lessons that I've learned and I live by, you have pretty positive, upbeat, average, great day. Not average, positive, upbeat, great day.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Good attitude.
wonderful.
Yeah, attitude is definitely a big factor. Travis, you do have quite the following of people. You want to give a plug for your book or your podcasting?
I can't believe you also have a podcast. Wow.
I do, but we're just getting it off the ground. We did a couple, test episodes and pilots, but now we're going to go ahead and change out the format, which is going to be great. And, I'm really excited about that. So, yeah, if everybody gets bored and want to check it out, check out travismills.org for all your Travis Mills needs. Okay. And we'll just kind of go from there.
Okay, awesome. There you go.
That's great. That's wonderful, and we hope our listeners do check that out. We cannot thank you enough for joining our show today. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and excited to be a part of this, this episode of your phenomenal podcast here.
Thank you, Travis, for joining our show. And I hope others can find strength by listening to your story, because that's the goal of our podcast.
Yeah, and it's extremely inspiring.
Very.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. If our listeners have any questions or comments related to today's show, they can contact us at podcastdx@yahoo.com, through our website, podcastdx.com, on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, or Instagram.
And if you have a moment to spare, please give us a review wherever you get your podcast. As always, keep in mind that this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regime. And never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast.
Till next week.